Good morning, noon, or night, everyone. Welcome back to The Fog, and let's see what's on the menu for today, the Fear Street chapter concept for Dead by Daylight. Now, to celebrate Pride Month in my own way, I decided Fear Street would be a perfect concept to make. So if you enjoyed and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe and comment below any concepts you want to see me attempt in the future. With that said, let's get into what Fear Street is, how I'd adapt it into Dead by Daylight, and finishing up with a chapter concept. The Fear Street Trilogy is a Netflix film trilogy directed and co-written by Lee Janiak. The story is split between three films, 1994, 1987, and 1666, all of which are based on the Fear Street book series written by R.L. Stine, who also wrote Goosebumps. The story of the film trilogy follows Shadyside and Sunnyvale, a town where nothing seems to go wrong, and one where they consistently have violent murders and massacres. The cause of Shadyside's misery is often tied back to the curse of Sarah Fear, a witch who died and cursed the town as she was hung. Our main character is Dina Johnson, who has a messy breakup with her girlfriend Samantha Fraser after Sam moved to Sunnyvale. Wanting to get back at her, Dina goes to the football game between Shadyside and Sunnyvale. The two argue, and a car full of Sunnyvalers is tailing the Shadyside school bus, the tension between the two escalating, resulting in the crashing of the car. Sam, who was in the car, has some strange visions and is later revealed that Dina's friends, Kate and Simon, are being stalked by someone impersonating Ryan Therese, the most recent Shadyside killer called Skullface. Things continue to get weird as the group, including Dina, Sam, Dina's brother Josh, Simon and Kate, are all stalked and pursued by Shadyside's past killers who have seemingly come back to life. They eventually figure out that Sam had disturbed Sarah Fear's corpse, and the only way to save her from the curse was for her to die, as the killers are invulnerable. Eventually, the group decides on a method of using drugs to stop Sam's heart and for Dina to resuscitate her, but things don't go to plan as Simon and Kate are killed and Sam throws up the pills, forcing Dina to drown Sam in a fish tank. But remarkably, Sam is brought back by Dina when something seems off about Sam, eventually believing she is possessed. They take her to Christine Berman, also known as Ziggy, who is the only person to survive one of the Shadyside massacres. Ziggy tells the story of the Camp Nightwing massacre, and how a camp counselor called Tommy Slater was turned into a killer and began targeting Ziggy and her older sister Cindy. They figured out if they reunite Sarah Fear's body with her hand, then the curse should lift, as Sarah's curse states she will never rest until her hand is united with her body. And upon accidentally finding her hand, they go to reunite it with Sarah's body under the hanging tree. But her body is nowhere to be found, leading to the deaths of both Ziggy and Cindy. But Ziggy resuscitated by Sheriff Nick Good and survives. So, hoping to free Sam from the curse, Dina goes to reunite Sarah Fear's hand with her body. But upon doing so, she's met with flashbacks as Dina sees Sarah's life through Sarah's own eyes. She goes back to the colony of Union before it split into Sunnyvale and Shadyside, witnessing Sarah's life and how she had feelings for another girl in Union called Hannah Miller. They are eventually caught together and horrible tragedies stop plaguing the town. Rotten food, poisoned water, livestock eating its young, and it all comes to a crescendo as Pastor Miller locks himself inside the church with all the children. When the townsfolk break down the door, they find Pastor Miller with no eyes and having killed all of the village's children. The townsfolk meet and eventually call witchcraft, accusing Hannah and Sarah of being witches. Hannah is caught and Sarah decides she will actually make a deal with the devil in order to save them. So she goes to the widow, the exiled magic expert of the town, when she is found dead. Panicked, Sarah runs to her close friend, Solomon Good, and seeks shelter from him. She hides in his basement and later discovers a ritual. Solomon explains how he had stolen a grimoire from the widow and used its magic to form a pact with Satan, sacrificing the soul of Pastor Miller to bring favour to the Good family. Solomon attempts then to come on to Sarah, who runs into the cave network beneath the town, losing her hand by Solomon before eventually being caught. At their trial, Sarah declares that she bewitched Hannah into loving her so that they let Hannah go and Sarah is hanged, cursing the Good family that someday the truth will come out. In the present, knowing this, Dina finally realizes that Sheriff Good, who has been very dismissive of the events going on, is the cause of the curse. She devises a plan alongside Josh, Ziggy, and mall janitor Martin, who had been consistently framed by Sheriff Good by spraying tags about the witch's curse all over town to keep the legend alive, and blaming it on Martin. The group organizes a plan to use Dina's blood to lure in the resurrected killers to the mall, and use them to kill Nick Good. This fails, however, and Nick runs into the tunnels beneath the Shadyside Mall where the Witch's Mark currently sits. Sam also eventually breaks free and tries to run and kill Dina, but Sam breaks free from Satan's influence and Dina exposes Nick to the atrocities his family has committed by forcing him to touch the fleshy growth produced by the grimoire, before finally killing him and ending the curse as a car accident occurs in Sunnyvale, the first accident in the town in almost 300 years. Fear Street is an impeccable trilogy, except Prom Queen. We don't talk about Prom Queen. And I think it has enough memorable characters to land a spot in Dead by Daylight, with Sam and Dina as survivors. And while most would put someone like Tommy Slater or another iconic killer for the killer role, and yeah, they're all pretty iconic in looks, but it felt wrong to let them do all the killing after the Goods willingly sacrificed Shadysiders to Satan for almost 3 centuries and killed probably hundreds. So that leaves Sheriff Nick Good as our killer. And with that, let's get onto the concepts, starting with our killer, the Grimoire. An average 4.6 meters per second killer with a 32 meter terror radius. A corrupt sheriff who sold the souls of his neighbouring town to the devil to uphold a 300-year family tradition to keep said family in power. Finally killed and his secret revealed, taken by the entity. The Grimoire's power is Curse of Shadyside. Special object, the Witcher's Mark. The Witcher's Mark will spawn randomly across the map at the beginning of the trial, but will always spawn within 20 meters of the Grimoire. The aura of the Witcher's Mark is shown at all times to the Grimoire and allows the Grimoire to use his abilities. The Witcher's Mark will also cause cursed flesh to spawn around it. Special object, Cursed Flesh. Cursed flesh appears on the ground in large patches across the trial, though appearing in higher quantity the closer to the Witcher's Mark you are. Stepping on cursed flesh will inflict the witness status until you are downed. Special ability, Ancient Covenant. This ability must be activated at the Witcher's Mark and allows the Grimoire to afflict a survivor with the sacrificed status. The sacrificed status lasts until they are downed, and there is a 120-second cooldown between uses of Ancient Covenant. Ancient Covenant takes 6 seconds to perform. Special status, Witness and Sacrificed. The Grimoire is able to inflict 2 special statuses onto survivors, both of which are removed after the survivor is downed. The first is the Sacrificed status. When applied to a survivor, will cause them to become the primary target of the Shadyside killers and will begin the Horrors of Shadyside event. Being the sacrifice allows for the survivor to also use blood cans. The Witness status is granted to survivors when they stand on cursed flesh. Causes survivors to become a secondary target to the Shadyside killers, unless there is no current sacrifice, in which case they will be the main target. Witnesses cannot use blood cans. Special event, Horrors of Shadyside. This event occurs after a survivor either becomes a sacrifice or a witness. If a survivor is marked as a sacrifice, it will cause the Shadyside killers to begin to rise at the following times. Ryan Therese, 15 seconds. Tommy Slater, 30 seconds. Ruby Lane, 45 seconds. If a survivor is a witness, the times will alter, but the Shadyside killers will still rise after a period of time. Ryan Therese, 30 seconds. Tommy Slater, 45 seconds. And Ruby Lane at 60 seconds. Special enemy, the Shadyside killers. There are 3 Shadyside killers that can appear in the trial. The main objective of the killers is to hunt down either the sacrifice or the witness, depending on which takes priority at that time. The Shadyside killers all have distinct behaviours, but will always follow the blood of either a witness or sacrifice as their main way of tracking down targets. Though, if no blood trail is available, they will begin patrolling the map and utilise a line of sight in a 30-metre radius of where the survivor is. The Shadyside killers and their behaviour is as follows. Ryan Therese, the Skullface Killer. Ryan's main focus is stealth. He is the quietest of the 3 killers with only an 8-meter lullaby. Ryan is able to hide in lockers when in a certain radius of survivors if he has not been seen. He can jump out at survivors from lockers to injure them and runs at 4 meters per second. Tommy Slater, the Camp Nightwing Killer. Tommy's main focus is strength. Tommy has the loudest footsteps and a middle-range lullaby at 10 meters. He will use his axe to cut down and break pallets and breakable walls and runs at 3.7 meters per second. Ruby Lane, the Teenage Killer. Ruby's main focus is speed. She has the largest lullaby of 16 meters and a larger detection radius than the other Shadyside killers. Upon being in her line of sight, she will rush forward at her running speed of 4.4 meters per second to try and attack her targets. Special item, blood cans. Similar to the Blood Moon event, gasoline cans can be found around the map empty. Empty cans cannot be picked up and instead can only be filled by a sacrifice if they are injured. If a sacrifice fills up a blood can, the other survivors can pick it up and use it to pour blood on the ground. This blood trail will attract the Shadyside killers and divert them away from the radius near the sacrifice, allowing the sacrifice to cooperate with their team to divert the Shadyside killers away from them. And like always, the Grimoire comes with 3 unique perks, starting with Witch Trial. This perk activates when a survivor is near a downed survivor. If a survivor is within 8 meters of a downed survivor for 8, 7, or 6 seconds, they will scream and become the Obsession, revealing their aura for 15 seconds. Scourge Hook Communal Division. Whenever a survivor is hooked on a Scourge Hook, this perk activates. While the survivor is on the hook, 2 survivors will gain Oblivious and Blindness until the survivor is unhooked. The 3rd survivor, however, will then become exposed for 10, 13, and 15 seconds. Ancient Pact. This perk activates after you have sacrificed 1 survivor. After doing so for the remainder of the trial, you will gain an 8, 9, or 10% haste boost whenever beginning a chase with a survivor for 10 seconds. This perk will also give you a 5% haste boost after hooking a survivor for 10 seconds. And now onto our survivors, Samantha Fraser and Dina Johnson, starting with Sam and her perks, Triumph of Love. This perk activates after you heal a survivor from the dying state. If the survivor you healed from the dying state is injured while you are on the hook, you gain the ability to unhook yourself and become broken for 70 seconds before automatically being healed. From the Brink. This perk activates when you are on the death hook. While you are on death hook, you are able to pick yourself up from the dying state and gain the elusive status effect for 8, 9, or 10 seconds, up to a maximum of 3 times. Disturb the Dead. This perk can be activated when near a hook that a survivor has been sacrificed on. When nearby, you gain the ability to interact with the hook, seeing the killer's aura for 10, 15, or 20 seconds, after doing so at the cost of repairing the hook instantly. And now for Dina's perks, starting with Siblings Code. This perk activates after you successfully escape a chase. Upon doing so, the next survivor to enter chase will gain a 5% increase to vaulting actions for their first 1, 2, or 3 vaults. This perk will then go on cooldown for 120 seconds and will reactivate after you get in another chase. Eyes of Truth. This perk activates when the killer injures a survivor. When this perk is active, you see all auras within 10, 13, or 16 meters of the killer for 20 seconds. This perk has a cooldown of 30 seconds. Face the Evil. This perk activates after the killer reveals your aura. Upon doing so, the killer will instead reveal a random aura anywhere in the trial. This perk has 5 uses before going on cooldown for 100 seconds. And that's it. The Fear Street chapter for Dead by Daylight, featuring Nick Good as our killer and Sam and Dina as our survivors. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, as I'll be seeing you all soon for a solo survivor drop. Until then, thanks for watching. That's all in the menu for today, and I'll see you in the fog.